Are you over 70 and questioning whether intense workouts are truly benefiting your health? What if reducing the intensity of your exercise routine could actually leave you feeling stronger, more energetic, and happier? In this video, we'll explore 5 transformative habits that can enhance your well-being without putting unnecessary strain on your body. You'll hear inspiring stories from individuals who've embraced gentler approaches, like yoga, deep breathing, and gardening, to stay fit and vibrant. By the end of this video, you'll have practical tips to boost your flexibility, energy levels, and overall happiness. Don't miss these essential strategies for thriving beyond 70. If you enjoy the content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. 1. The change: adapting to aging. Through yoga. As we age, the changes to our bodies are inevitable. The once boundless energy, flexibility, and ease of movement gradually begin to fade, leaving us to cope with the slow stiffening of muscles and joints. Tasks that we once performed without a second thought, bending down to tie our shoes, reaching up to grab something from a shelf, start to become challenges. These changes are not just physical, but can also carry an emotional toll, leaving us feeling frustrated and perhaps even a sense of loss. The activities that once brought us joy and a sense of accomplishment now seem to come with a price. However, this stage of life also presents a powerful choice: resist these changes and continue clinging to old habits, or embrace the need to adapt, adjust, and find new ways to stay healthy, happy, and active. The latter is a choice that brings with it unexpected beauty. One such story of adaptation is that of Mr. Jack, a 75-year-old man who offers a perfect example of how the body can change, but we can evolve alongside it. For most of his life, Jack was known for his dedication to exercise. Weightlifting had always been his passion, and the gym was his sanctuary. It was where he felt in control, powerful, and physically strong. Exercise wasn't just a hobby, it was the foundation of his life. He took pride in his physical condition, knowing he could face life's challenges with strength. But as he grew older, he began to experience something unexpected. It wasn't the usual signs of aging like gray hairs or wrinkles, but the deep, persistent pain in his muscles and joints that started to wear him down. The aches were subtle at first, just minor twinges in his lower back or shoulders after an intense session at the gym. But over time, these small annoyances grew into something more disruptive. His muscles weren't recovering the way they used to, and no matter how many recovery techniques he tried, the pain only seemed to intensify. Jack, being the resilient man he was, tried to push through the discomfort, but it became harder to ignore the toll it was taking on his body. The joy he once found in his workouts was replaced by frustration, and he felt a growing sense of helplessness. That's when his daughter stepped in, noticing his struggles and suggesting something completely outside of his routine: yoga. At first, Jack was skeptical. Yoga? At his age? How could something so slow and calm replace the intensity of weightlifting, something he had relied on for years to stay strong and fit? The idea seemed almost like a betrayal of the very fitness regime he had worked so hard to build. However, sensing the urgency in his daughter's voice, Jack reluctantly agreed to give it a try, thinking, "What do I have to lose?" Walking into the yoga studio, Jack had no idea what to expect. His first class was a revelation. The instructor led the group through slow, controlled movements designed to stretch and lengthen the body. Jack's muscles, tight from years of weightlifting and now aged with time, resisted the movements at first. He couldn't hold the poses as gracefully as the others in the room, and some stretches felt impossible. But as the class went on, something unexpected began to happen. The deep breathing exercises eased the tension in his muscles. The slow stretches worked into areas that had long been stiff and sore. With each breath, Jack felt a wave of calm wash over him. By the end of the class, he noticed a subtle change. The stiffness in his shoulders, which had been constant for months, began to ease. His lower back, which had been aching for weeks, felt a little less tense. While he wasn't completely pain-free, Jack could move with more freedom than before. It was a small victory, but an important one. Jack didn't stop after just one class. He continued attending yoga sessions, and over time, the pain in his back and shoulders diminished further. The movements that once felt stiff and labored became smoother and more fluid. But here's the most surprising part. Yoga helped improve his weightlifting. Initially, Jack believed that yoga and weightlifting were worlds apart. However, as his body became more flexible, he noticed improvements in his form. The yoga poses loosened his stiff muscles, making his lifting routine smoother and more controlled. He was able to lift weights with less strain and discomfort, and his body felt more balanced, strong, yet flexible. The pain that he had assumed was a natural part of aging was now manageable, and in some cases, nearly gone. Jack's experience shows us that, as we age, we don't have to choose between strength and flexibility. We need both. Strength helps us maintain muscle mass and stamina, while flexibility allows us to move more freely and reduce injury risk. Aging gracefully requires a combination of these qualities, not just one or the other. Jack's journey serves as a reminder that we don't need to give up on our passions as we get older. There's always room to adapt and grow, even if it means trying something entirely new, like yoga. Aging doesn't have to be feared or resisted. It can be an opportunity for transformation, new strengths, and new possibilities. 2. The power of breath. Embracing vitality at any age. As we get older, the body's endurance inevitably begins to decline. It's a humbling experience when the body that once felt invincible, ready to take on any challenge, starts to show signs of wear and tear. Stamina, once boundless, begins to fade, and even basic activities now require more recovery time than before. For those of us who have spent a lifetime pushing ourselves physically, whether through running, weightlifting, or other high-energy routines, the realization of this decline can be hard to accept. The activities that once energized us now leave us drained. I know the feeling all too well. The exhaustion that comes after a short jog, the aching muscles, the emotional weariness that accompanies physical fatigue. It can feel like a constant reminder that time is moving forward, and with it, the slow fading of our former selves. But over time, I've learned something important. We don't have to surrender to this decline. There's a simple, often overlooked remedy that can restore energy, sharpen focus, and bring peace to both the body and the mind. That remedy is breathwork combined with meditation. Take, for example, Mr. Frank, an 82-year-old man who knows all too well what it's like to struggle with loss of vitality. For most of his life, Frank was a marathon runner. Running wasn't just a hobby. It was his identity. The rhythm of his feet hitting the pavement, the wind in his face, the exhilaration of crossing a finish line, it all made him feel alive, strong, and vital. But as Frank entered his 80s, he began to notice changes he hadn't anticipated. The long runs that once brought him such joy started to take their toll in ways he hadn't expected. His muscles ached more deeply, his energy levels plummeted, and recovery time after each run grew longer. Instead of feeling exhilarated after a run, he felt drained and emotionally deflated. For Frank, this decline was difficult to accept. Running had been the core of his identity, and it felt like a crisis of self. How could he reconcile his sense of who he was with the fact that his body no longer functioned the way it once had? But rather than stubbornly clinging to his old routine, Frank made a decision that would transform his life. He chose to focus on his breath. It sounds simple, almost too simple, doesn't it? Focusing on something as basic as breathing might seem ineffective, especially after years of intense physical activity. But in fact, it was the simplicity of this practice that made it so powerful. At first, Frank admitted that it felt strange and uncomfortable. He had always been a man of action, a man who thrived on pushing his body to its limits. Slowing down to focus on his breath felt foreign to him, almost like surrendering. But soon, Frank began to experience something remarkable. As he practiced deep breathing, he found a sense of peace that he hadn't known he needed. It wasn't just about relaxing, It was about recharging. Each deep breath gave him a moment of stillness, a sanctuary in the midst of life's chaos. His muscles, which had been worn down from years of running, began to relax. The stress that had accumulated in both his mind and body began to melt away. The true magic of breathwork, however, came when Frank realized it wasn't just about relaxation, it was about energy. With each deep breath, he felt a sense of vitality that he hadn't expected. It wasn't about forcing energy out of his body. It was about allowing energy to flow naturally. His mind cleared, his mood lifted, and he began to feel emotionally balanced once more. Frank's new daily routine of breathwork and meditation became his lifeline. He dedicated a few minutes each morning to this practice, finding a new clarity and vigor that helped him face the day. The fatigue that once weighed him down began to lift, replaced by a lightness that felt almost miraculous. What Frank learned is something that we can all take to heart. Health doesn't have to be about constantly pushing ourselves to our limits. Sometimes the most profound healing comes from simply being still, from embracing the rhythm of life as it is now, not as it once was. For Frank, breathwork didn't just help him recover faster after physical exertion, it gave him a new lease on life. He felt refreshed, invigorated, and at peace. The power of breath is a gift that we all have within us. It doesn't require expensive equipment or memberships. It's a natural tool that we carry with us at all times. By practicing mindful breathing, we can revitalize our energy, soothe our stress, and clear our minds. In a world that often demands more from us, sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the permission to simply breathe. It's in that simple act of breathing that we can unlock the power to thrive, no matter our age. 3. Gentle walking for health and vitality. In our society, there's a common belief that in order to stay healthy, we must push ourselves to the brink. We hear it often: grueling workouts, long runs, and heavy weightlifting in the gym. This narrative is so ingrained in our modern lives that anything less seems like we're not doing enough. However, as we grow older, particularly when we hit our 70s, this mindset can be more harmful than helpful. The key to aging gracefully is not about competing with others or even our younger selves. It's about listening to our bodies and understanding what they need. Take Mrs. Grace, a 73-year-old woman from California, for example. A lifelong runner, she used to wake up early, lace up her shoes, and join the morning crowd at the park. The crisp air and the rhythm of her feet on the pavement gave her a sense of freedom and strength. She believed that if she kept pace with the younger runners, she could ward off the effects of aging and stay vibrant. However, over time, her body started showing signs of wear. At first, it was just a mild discomfort in her knees, which she brushed off. But soon the pain grew and running became a struggle. What once felt empowering became exhausting, both physically and emotionally. After months of pushing herself, Mrs. Grace made an important realization. She didn't need to run long distances to stay healthy. She needed to listen to her body and make changes. So, she traded in her running shoes for something gentler: walking. But not just any walking, purposeful, intentional walking. She slowed down, found a comfortable pace, and embraced the simplicity of it. And the results were remarkable. Her knee pain eased, her muscles relaxed, and her mind cleared. The emotional weight she once felt after every run lifted, and she found a sense of peace in her new routine. Walking became a form of self-care, a reminder that staying healthy doesn't have to be about pushing past exhaustion. It's about working in harmony with your body. The power of light weights for strength and independence. As we age, maintaining muscle strength becomes increasingly important, not just for looks, but for our health, independence, and daily function. Strength plays a critical role in balance, mobility, and preventing falls, which can be devastating as we get older. It also helps maintain bone density, reducing the risk of osteoporosis. But as we all know, our bodies change with age. The days of lifting heavy weights without a second thought are behind us, and we must adapt our approach to fitness. Mrs. Edith, a 79-year-old woman, is a prime example of this. In her younger years, she thrived on heavy weightlifting. But as she aged, the toll it took on her joints became undeniable. The discomfort in her knees and shoulders grew, and the post-workout fatigue no longer seemed worth the effort. So, she made a choice. Rather than abandoning exercise, she turned to a gentler approach: light weights, resistance bands, and bodyweight exercises. These movements focused on building strength without putting stress on her joints. To her surprise, the results were transformative. Her muscles still activated and grew stronger, but without the harsh impact on her joints. She no longer felt pain after a workout. Instead, she felt a sense of accomplishment and energy. Mrs. Edith's journey is a powerful reminder that strength doesn't always come from lifting heavy weights. Through gentler exercises, we can maintain muscle mass, promote flexibility, and stay strong without the risk of injury. This approach to fitness promotes a sense of independence, allowing us to continue living active, fulfilling lives without the threat of overexertion. The joy of gardening. As we get older, it's easy to think that the things we once enjoyed may no longer be possible due to physical limitations. But sometimes, it's the gentlest activities that offer the most profound benefits. Gardening is one such activity that brings joy, peace, and fulfillment to many older adults. For Mrs. Lilly, a 77-year-old woman, gardening is more than just a hobby. It's a sanctuary, a space where she can breathe, reflect, and find joy. She has spent years cultivating her garden, nurturing plants, and watching them grow. However, like many of us, Mrs. Lilly faced the physical challenges of aging. Her doctor advised her to limit heavy lifting due to back issues. She wondered if this meant giving up her beloved garden. But rather than giving up, she adapted. She broke down her gardening tasks into manageable intervals, short 20 to 30-minute sessions to prevent overexertion. She focused on gentler tasks like pruning, weeding, and potting flowers in containers. She invested in ergonomic tools and an adjustable seat to make gardening easier on her body. The results were inspiring. Not only did Mrs. Lilly feel less physically drained, but her spirit also felt lighter. The simple act of tending to her garden brought joy and pride, showing that joy doesn't have to come from grand gestures or perfect health. By making small adjustments, she could continue to experience the beauty and satisfaction of gardening, despite her physical challenges. 6. Takeaways and lessons learned. The stories of Mrs. Grace, Mrs. Edith, and Mrs. Lilly offer invaluable lessons for all of us. First and foremost, they remind us that the path to health and vitality doesn't have to be paved with intense exercise or pushing ourselves to the brink. Sometimes the gentlest approaches, like walking, light weights, and even gardening, can provide the greatest benefits for both our bodies and our minds. As we age, it's crucial to listen to our bodies and adapt our routines accordingly. Fitness isn't about competing with others or even our younger selves. It's about finding what works for us at any stage in life. For Mrs. Grace, it was walking instead of running. For Mrs. Edith, it was switching to lighter weights and resistance bands. And for Mrs. Lilly, it was finding joy and fulfillment in her garden, despite her physical limitations. So, what can we learn from these stories? It's not about how much we can do, but about finding purpose and beauty in the moments we can enjoy. It's about embracing gentleness, being kind to ourselves, and adapting our routines to suit our needs. The most powerful thing we can do is move forward, one gentle step at a time. If you've found these stories inspiring, take a moment to reflect on how you can adapt your own activities, stay connected to nature, or embrace the joy of small moments. What one thing will you take from these stories and incorporate into your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that helps you live your best life at any age. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.